all the stories I'm going to tell you on this channel, this one is probably the one that's the hardest to believe. I swear to you, it's 100% true. And I have witnesses, people that I still know and love, who were there to witness this. So it's a true story, but it's bizarre. This is an adventure that another adventure that happened on our trip to Greece. Back when I was working as a college instructor, took a group of students to a speech competition in Athens, Greece. And if you haven't seen my video about how I ended up in a Greek prison, make sure you check that one out. But this is about a separate adventure we had late one night. You know, when we were over there on the other side of the planet, the time difference had us all messed up. And so in the middle of the night, when everyone over there is asleep, we're still wide awake because of our internal clocks are all messed up. And so one night, me and some of the people in our group, I think it was Julia was with us, and Susan and Mike and Jerry, and a group of us, not everybody, but kind of a subgroup of our tour group that was on this trip, decided that, you know what, let's take a walk to go to the Parthenon. If you've never been to Athens, Greece, it's an amazing city. And up on this huge hill, from anywhere in the city, you can see the Parthenon, right? It's a whole complex up there called the Acropolis and the Parthenon, and it's lit up, and it's one of the oldest, most famous structures in the world. It's amazing. But we said, you know what? We can see it off there in the distance. We should walk from here to there, right? We'll stay as a group. We'll be safe. There's plenty of good lighting out here where we're at, and let's go. So we'll get some pictures while we're there, right? So we get our camera gear, and you know, off we go to go see the Parthenon. And we're just walking and talking and laughing and walking, and you know, we get to an intersection and we're trying to decide, do you turn right or left? Well, you can see the Parthenon right there. You just, you know, you turn this way, and then you go through this street, and you turn that way. And we had the Parthenon is like our central point that we're walking toward. All you got to do is walk toward the Parthenon. And so we're walking and walking, but after about an hour, we realized the Parthenon's farther away than it looks. And the second thing we notice is it's not as light in this part of town as it was back by our hotel, which is part of this main strip with all these hotels and restaurants. It was right up the street from this big square where restaurants were open all night, and bars, and kind of a hopping area. We're now in like the back streets and alleys of Athens, Greece, and it's dark. And we are walking, and it's darker and darker, and the streets are getting more narrow, and they're getting, you know, kind of dirtier, and more garbage laying around. And we walk by these like meat stores that have like big old like cows hanging in the window, or a bunch of octopus just hanging on a string. And we're like, this does not look like anything in America at all. We walk in these areas that clearly there's, you know, bars and people in there laughing and hollering and fighting. And we are in some dark back alleys. And it starts to dawn on me, this might not be the safest place for us to be. We didn't see any police around. We really didn't see any people around at all at that point. It was just kind of a dark, kind of a scary. We don't really know totally where we're at. We know we're still kind of heading toward the Parthenon because you can see it right there. But I started getting a little nervous. And, you know, you ever just get like, we're not supposed to be here, and this could be really bad. And I started thinking, I don't know what the gun laws are, the weapon laws are here in Greece. You know, we had found out after we got there that Greece was at war with Turkey, and it was like one of the only countries on earth at the time that the U.S. State Department was warning Americans not to go to. Well, here we are. And so I started to freak out a little bit, and I noticed that some of the rest of our group, I said, hey, anybody else getting a little nervous right now? And they're like, yep, we're really nervous. We're really nervous right now. So we're kind of hanging in close, and we're walking, and little sounds make us jump. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to pray. And I'm a Christian. I put my faith in God that he will protect me. And all throughout the Bible, it says that if you call, he will answer. And so I said, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to say a quick prayer. A couple people in our group were Christians. A couple people were not, decidedly not. But they were like, go ahead and pray. We don't care. So I said a prayer, and I asked God to send angels to protect us. Now, I've never done that before, but the Bible talks about angels all the time. And, guardian angels, you've heard of those, protective angels. I said, God, please Send us some angels to protect us. In Jesus' name, amen. So off we go, and we're walking down the street, and I'm like, are the angels here? I can't see them. Well, I don't know. Can you see angels? I don't think so. And so we're walking and walking. It's getting darker. It's getting scarier. We're still a long way from the Parthenon. And then all of a sudden, we hear from coming down this dark alley, we hear a dog growling. Now, what you got to know about Athens is there's stray dogs everywhere in Athens, right? For this whole trip, we'd see stray. I took a bunch of pictures. Here's some pictures of some of the stray dogs that we would just see, and I'm like, you see them everywhere, and I really don't know why. But there's like a dog in this alley, and you look down there, and you just see a pair of eyes, and we all like freeze, and we just like, I'm like, don't move. And this dog comes walking toward us, and it is a big black Doberman, and it is fierce looking, and he is growling, and he comes walking up toward us, and I'm like, everybody just stay cool, just don't move. And this dog like walks and like circles around us and is like looking at us, and then he just comes up next to me and he sits down. Boop. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go. And so we start walking, and this dog stands up and starts walking along with us. And I'm like, okay, I guess this dog's going to follow us. And so we're walking. A couple minutes later, we hear another dog coming down the alley. And we're like, oh boy, it's another dog. And this dog is like a golden retriever. Oh, and by the way, we're walking with this dog, and I said, you know what? I'm going to name this dog Zeus, right? If you grew up in my generation, there was a show called Magnum P.I., and Higgins was the guy who lived on Robin Masters' estate, and they had these two Doberman pinchers named Zeus and Apollo, these two beautiful black Dobermans. And so I said, oh, Zeus from Magnum P.I. and Zeus were in Greece. Perfect. I'm going to name him Zeus. So here comes a golden retriever walking down. And this golden retriever kind of walks up next to us, to our group of, I think we have 5 people, walks up next to us and starts walking along the other side. And so we're walking now down these alleys with Zeus over here and this other dog over here. And I said, well, we got to name this other dog. What are we going to name it? And Julia says, well, I'm gonna name him Pally. I said, Pally? Zeus and Pally? So we named the dog Zeus and Pally. And we're walking, and we take a turn. You know, the Parthenon's this way. We turn. The dogs turn with us. We turn again. The dogs, they're just staying with us. They're not like begging for food. We didn't have any food. They're just walking with us. And I said, all right, guys, I know this is probably going to sound crazy, but does anybody agree with me that God sent these dogs to protect us? And a couple of them are like, yep, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. There was a guy with us named Mike, and Mike was not a believer. Mike happened to be the most intelligent person of our group. The guy was like a genius, but he's like, you guys are ridiculous with your angel dogs. I go, hey, I prayed for God to send protectors. I feel like we got some protectors. I'm good with it, right? And he's like, you guys are ridiculous. So we start walking along. Well, we get to kind of this kind of open area, and we see these 2 guys come walking toward us, and they're wearing black leather jackets. They look like local guys, and they're kind of walking toward us. And as soon as they do, Zeus and Pally both, who'd been totally quiet, were like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr." They start barking at these guys, and these guys take off running. And Zeus and Pally, they chase these guys away. And I said, guys, I think Zeus and Pally just saved us from those guys. Those guys look like they were up to no good. And they run off, and we can't even see them anymore. And so we're standing there, and Zeus and Pally come, like, you hear them like, tick, 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 tick. Here they come running back, right back to us. Hey, thanks, Zeus. Thanks, Pally. You saved us there, I think. And then another little group comes, and it's a family. It's a husband and wife and a baby in a stroller. And they go walking by. Zeus and Pally don't bark. They don't growl. They let those people just walk on by. I said, I think Zeus and Pally know who's out for trouble and who's okay. And so just then we're in this area, and there's these there's this big sign, and built into the stone wall, like a big brass sign, and these very steep steps going up this hill. So Mike was the smart guy in our group, and he had actually learned Greek for this trip. He learned how to read and how to speak Greek because we were going to Greece. Pretty amazing. And so I was, Mike, what does that sign say? And he goes, oh, this is the Areopagus right here. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Oh, this is this has been a central part of like Greek culture for thousands of years. This is where they used to have like a court up here at the top of those steps. There's like a hill up there. And he said, Jeff, he's reading the sign. Oh, this was also in Roman times, back when after Jesus lived, this was called Mars Hill. And he's reading us the sign. This is the place where the Apostle Paul in Acts chapter 17 came and preached to all the people in Greece. It's one of the most famous sermons in the Bible. And I'm like, this is that spot? He goes, yeah, at the top of those stairs. I'm like, we got to check that out. And by this time, we decided we'd given up on the Parthenon because the Parthenon was still a long ways away, to be honest with you. We're not going to get to the Parthenon tonight. I said, but let's go check this out. And so I go, well, I mean, the dogs don't like climbing up steep stairs. The dogs are not going to follow us. And so Zeus and Pally, thanks for your protection. We start climbing up. And I didn't get any pictures at night of these steps, but here's some pictures of what they look like during the day that I found on the internet. And it's just these like rough hewn steps set into the stone. And we go climbing up there and you get to the top and it's a beautiful sight. And you can see why Paul chose this place to give his sermon, because behind him would have been the Parthenon. And I don't know if it was lit up in those days or if he spoke during the day, presumably. And but that was like the seat of government power for the whole country of Greece. But then facing the other way, all laid out, is the whole city of Athens and all these houses as far as you can see. And this is where the people live. And that's where Paul stood, and he gave an amazing sermon. Feel free to read it. It's in Acts chapter 17. What makes it interesting from a public speaker's perspective, from a rhetorical perspective, is that Paul met these people where they were at. Very superstitious people. They had, as the story goes, statues of all the Greek gods, and they didn't want to miss anybody, so they actually had a statue to the unknown God. And when they asked Paul, so who's this God that you worship? He goes, well, that's the God that I worship. It's the unknown God. He's the one who created the whole world. He created all the children of the world. Everyone is God's children. This is a very appealing message to people in Greek and Roman times, right? That there was only a few children of the gods, right? And so a very appealing message to those people. And so this is that place. And so we walk up there and I'm struck with, this is like holy ground. We're the only people there. This is by now late at night. It's probably 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. No one else is out there except for us. And I'm like, well, I felt a little nervous. I'm like, I just kind of like to stay here for a little while and, maybe just, spend some time in prayer or something, or just, moment of silence kind of thing. I think this is a sight that most people are just never going to see in their whole life. I think it's something we should cherish, something we should just take a moment to realize how amazing this is. But I didn't really want to turn my back to the stairs because anybody could have came up those stairs, and it's on the other side. It's like a cliff. It drops off. And then I hear something or someone coming up the stairs, and it was Zeus and Pally. These dogs scampered up these stairs, and we sat down on this like little stone bench, and Zeus came and like laid down right in front of us, and Pally went and laid down right behind us, and those dogs sat there and like lookouts as we were there for about 20 minutes. It was amazing. Well, then we decided it's time to go back to the hotel, right? It's getting late. Sun's going to be coming up soon. We got to go. So climb down the stairs. We start heading back toward the hotel. What we quickly realize is we don't know how to get back to our hotel. On the way there, we just kept following the Parthenon. Well, now we're heading away from the Parthenon, but we don't know if we're heading in the right direction. I said, does anyone remember the name of our street that our hotel is on? Nope. There's no one to ask for directions. We don't see any police. We don't see any stores that are open. We're just walking past these boarded up shops and warehouses and old buildings. And so I go, I don't know where to go. Mike, do you know where to go? He goes, I don't know where to go. I'm like, great, we're lost. we didn't have any phones with us or anything to call like 911 even. I don't even know if they have 911 in Athens, Greece. And all of a sudden, Zeus and Pally, who've been walking next to us and letting us lead this whole night, they've now been with us for a couple of hours. These two dogs We get to this spot where you can go right or you can go left, and we don't know which way to go. Zeus and Pally together walk over and go down to the right, go around this corner. And then they turn and they both stick their heads around the corner and look at us. And we're standing there, and I said, I know this sounds crazy. I'm following the dogs. And Julia was like, I'm following the dogs too. Jerry, I'm following the dogs. Mike goes, guys, we ain't following dogs. Dogs can't lead us to our hotel. I go, you got a better idea? No, I go, I'm following the dogs. So we follow Zeus and Pally. And now they went from being next to us to being in front of us leading. And we're just following. And we're walking, and we get to another turn. They go left. We go left. We get to another spot where it splits 3 ways. Zeus and Pally go to the right. We go to the right. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And we are following dogs through the streets of Athens. It's unbelievable. At one point, we get to this. There's like a side alley, and we hear like, we hear another dog. And Zeus and Pally take off down this. You hear this, these dogs are fighting, and we're like, go, 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 go. And we're like, wow, that's probably the last we're going to see. The dog saved us again. And so we're walking, all of a sudden, you hear, here comes Zeus and Pally running down the stones of this street, and they join. And we followed these dogs for like an hour through the streets of Athens, turning when they turned, following wherever they went. Maybe we were crazy. I don't know. I didn't know what else to do, so this is what we were doing. Now it's starting to get kind of late. I mean, like, it's getting kind of early, actually. The sun's starting to come up a little bit. You can see it in the horizon. We got to get back to the hotel, right? The rest of our group's going to wake up. We're all going to be gone. They're going to be freaking out. And so we're walking. We're following Zeus and Pally, and all of a sudden they just stop. And we're looking around. We're like, what? And someone goes, hey, look, there's our hotel. They walked us all the way back through all these side streets and alleys of Athens, Greece, and stopped in front of our hotel. I go, oh my gosh. They brought us all the way here. This is amazing. I go, Mike. He's like, I don't know. It's coincidence. Shut up with your coincidence. These dogs are angels, and they've been protecting us and guiding us this whole time. This is one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life. I said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to you walk down a couple of blocks is where the square was with these restaurants that are open all night. I go, I'm going to go get these dogs some food because they have earned it. And everyone's like, yeah, we'll go with you. We'll go get some food. I'm like, all right, Zeus and Pally, let's get you some food. Right then, they took off, running down the street. I'm like, I don't know, maybe they chased another dog. Let's wait for them. So we waited about 20 minutes and they never came back. And I said, we had cameras, but I said, did anyone get a picture of Zeus and Pally? I didn't take any pictures of them. Nobody took any pictures of them. We never saw them again the rest of our trip, but they guided us safely back to that hotel and they protected us. And I've always wondered if we had taken a picture of Zeus and Pally when we got back and got those, it was before digital cameras, and got that developed, would we have seen them? Or would they have been invisible on the film? I don't know. But I do know that that day, those dogs guided us, and they led us, and they protected us. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the dogs, and I'm thankful for God. And I believe 100% that God sent those dogs for us. What's the moral of this crazy story? I recommend that you keep your eyes open for the supernatural. I believe, just like the Apostle Paul did, that we're all God's children. And if you just call out for help, he will send help. Might not take the shape of a Doberman and a Golden Retriever. It's probably unlikely that Zeus and Pally are going to show up at your house. But I do believe that if you need help and you ask, you're going to get it. Right? Knock and the door will be answered. Seek and ye will find. Ask and you'll receive. And so maybe you're the kind of person, you're a person of faith, and you hear this and you go, praise the Lord, what an awesome story. Maybe you're more like Mike and you're like, this is ridiculous. I'm telling you, it happened. It's not the only time something like this ever happened to me. This kind of stuff has happened to me over and over and over in my life to convince me of the fact that I believe God is real. I believe God cares about us. And I believe he's just waiting for us to have the faith to believe that he's got our back.